Hello, Professor and classmates. My name is Aryan Jaff. I'm doing a presentation for the final week of CYB 650, Innovation in Cybersecurity Frameworks, Organization Cybersecurity Policy, and Executive Summary. First slide, we'll be talking about framework. On behalf of the CEO, we decided that the NIST framework is the best procedure following secure and protecting data, since our establishment deal with the lead of industry pioneers, domestic and international. It should follow procedures that fall under the category that complies with the local and international laws and regulation to protect intellectual property and not to be a victim of unauthorized information. Good to be mentioned that there is multiple frameworks and regulations, but we chose NIST since it's comply with our needs. The NIST procedure, I'll start by defining the NIST procedure at the National Institute of Standard and Technology at the U.S. Department of Commerce. Then I would like to shed the light on the NIST cybersecurity framework and how it helps all sides of type of businesses that understand, manage, and reduce the cybersecurity risk to protect their networks and digital assets. The next slide will demonstrate the 5 main stages of the framework and how it acts. This slides, we explained it before, but I'll go through it real quick. The NIST framework has a life cycle and we have like 5 capabilities. Start by identify, protect, detect, respond, then recover. And the other thing is we should shed the light on why we use security framework. This slide talks about the necessity of using the security framework in order to protect our business, and there's a description in that slide as well. Applying the NIST framework stages start by identification, as we mentioned before. In order to grant or deny any access to the system, we need to first identify the identity of the user that's trying to connect or gain access. And there's multiple ways to double check, as the MFA, the multi-factor authentication method. Protection, each establishment should have a tailored security policy that is designed to protect the digital assets of the company, whether they are on hard drive servers, even on cloud storages, and procedure to react in case of any threat detection. The other stages to be continued is the physical security measures, system security assessment, and I want to shed the light also on the individual element of identification and how do we manage the threats and vulnerabilities. In this slide, I will shed the light on these 3 main topics that can strict the group policies in the mail server to ban any suspicious emails from getting through, and always schedule regular backups to ensure data compatibility, ensuring the system readiness. And these 2 actions were set to stand against phishing, spear phishing attacks in sequence, and also these actions come in compliance with an NIST standard as well. Privacy principles, it's all about the cybersecurity triad, the CIA, the confidentiality, the integrity and availability, and of course the authenticity of the information that we have. Regulatory and legal standards, that is the main purpose of the NIST compliance. And it tells you the failure to comply with the NIST, what are the consequences. Security policies, introduction to organization security policy. As we all know, the security is one of the most essential concerns nowadays. Hence, the technology is interfering in every and each field in our life. The huge interaction with technology that consume user data, personal information, and method of payment. Security, digital assets, a huge liability responsibility, require the information to be secured. Also, legislation made it mandatory to arrange the collection, handling, storing this information in secured way and in compliance with the local and the federal laws and regulations. Therefore, I'll describe below, as it was described in the assignment requirement, the user policy identification, employee onboarding and offboarding, which is a great vulnerability if it's not configured right, social media policy, insider threat, mobile device policy, and key provisions and conclusions. The next slides will reflect what I just mentioned the previous slide about the user policy identification, policies of employee onboarding, offboarding, social media policy, insider threats in case of we have an insider, and of course the mobile device policy, which is the biggest threat nowadays, and the key provisions of common standards, which stands for all the authority classification, depends on mainly data classification in groups. That means we can classify the data and who can access what to have better security layers. As a conclusion, getting assigned as a CEO is a huge responsibility. First, we need to understand the establishment infrastructure and the architecture. Then we understand the level of the security and tools used. Then the readiness of the compatibility of those tools to our system components, and how ready and trained the staff is to operate the system. And what are the vulnerabilities that are possible, or the weak points that might be a weak point for intruders to get into our system and compromise our data. All of the above points are essential that are very that every CISO or CEO should take in consideration. Hence, these are the most common ways to get system breached. This one is the network. This slide has the network diagram, and it shows all the components within the network that we have. It shows my name and initials down there and the course name, and it shows the technical requirements, system compliance, and related system assets, as you can see. The IT task and data classification and protection is very important. That's why I want to shed the light on this one in detail a little bit. Demonstrating IT task is describing the daily routine tasks that we're doing every day and what is the purpose behind doing them. And the implication of system connectivity to the internet. We're trying to get connected to the internet like swimming in an ocean. You never know what is gonna face you in there. So in order to be successful as a system administration, you always have to be prepared. Data classification and protection is very, very, very important. Data can be classified into multiple types according to the importance and priority, and also we can save them in a private areas based on their classification and necessity. Critical system and their possible impacts on the establishment. This paragraph or this slide will shed the light with quotes on let's say the identification of a critical system and the possible impacts that they have on the establishment. And in this slide, I will classify the impacts and what are the possible impacts and what are their types and what is the internal, external impacts and the financial impact and the severity of these impacts. And of course, since there is impacts and there is a possibility of a breach, we have to have a contingency plan, which is our backup plan in case we get under attack, how to react against this plan and restore the system to the normal operations or to the initial condition. NIST controls, in this slide, it will describe in detail the NIST controls and measures. And in this slide, I will shed the light on the risk implications of internet use. We all know that internet is a great source of information, but has unlimited access to all type of that information at any time from any location. And this is a risk, and this is a vulnerability as well. And it's one of the most essential tools that can be used in the fields such as work, study, marketing, health, and even financials. And that's what makes it very, very, very dangerous. So in the table on the right hand side, I listed the advantage and disadvantage of getting exposed to the internet. And in this slide, I listed 3 slides that you can arrange under each other from left to right. It shows a cybersecurity infographic about the cybersecurity tips that we're going through nowadays, and some statistics as well about data loss and data protection, and employee and demonstrate risky behaviors and so on. The OWASP is an essential aspect that we shed the light on the previous weeks. And in this slide, I will show what are the 10 stages of the OWASP and how we can protect our web applications. Start with injection using vulnerability component, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML external entities, broken access control, security misconfiguration, cross-site scripting, insecure deserialization, and use vulnerability components. Finally, I want to shed the light on this slide about securing application and executive summary. There are many ways to secure an application, hence they can be the backbone of any field or industry. Nowadays, I can start by shedding the light on keeping the track of the OSAP, hence security variabilities can negatively affect everybody in related applications such as users, developers, and everybody in that chain. So any injection attack can make a catastrophic outcome. We can also apply a security audit to the application to monitor the entire infrastructure. And by the way, there's two types of audits, internal, external, and there is pros and cons for each and how they affect the system. In this slide, I listed all the references that I have used during my research during the class and in this presentation as well. Thank you again, and I would like to say that I learned a lot from this course, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.